Ladies and gentlemen, you see, turning 70 is not an achievement. It simply means the planet has gone around the sun 70 times while you held on. The question is not how long you lived, but how alive are you? Now people say, oh, I am 70, what more is left? Let me tell you, if you can still do these six things at 70, then you are not just living, you are thriving. First thing, can you still move like a river? I am not asking for Olympic gymnastics, no. But if you can sit down on the floor without a crane and get up without prayer, that means your body still remembers life. The body is like earth, if you tend to it, it gives. If you ignore it, it hardens. Can you laugh even when there is nothing funny? Children laugh 300 times a day, adults maybe three. What happened? You grew wise or you grew dead inside. If you can laugh for no reason at 70, that means you have found the source of joy within, not outside. Sir, do your words weigh gold or sand? At 70, speech should be like incense, not smoke. Can you say one sentence and it lingers in someone's heart for years? If yes, you are living in awareness, not just reaction. If your memory is sharp but your heart is soft, you are blessed. Carrying grudges at 70 is like carrying bricks when you are tired. Let go, life feels lighter. Fifth, can you sleep like a baby and wake like a sage? This shows peace. If you lie down and the world disappears and wake up without the past clawing at you, your inner engineering is perfect. And finally, can you sit silently without needing a phone, TV or someone to talk to? If you can just sit with eyes open or closed and feel complete, then you have touched what many miss even at 20. So my dear ones, if at 70 you can still move, laugh, speak wisely, forgive, sleep well and sit silently, you have not grown old, you have become timeless. You are not counting days, you are the one who makes the days count. Still move like a river, not because you must impress the world with your agility or prove anything to anyone, but because the body, this magnificent piece of earth, is not yours to own but to live through. And if at 70 it still bends with grace and rises with ease, it means you have treated it not as a machine to exploit but as a temple to honor. And like rivers that curve gently around stones, shifting their path without complaint, if your limbs still carry you without noise, without pain, it means you have lived with care, not recklessness. And it is not about speed or stamina, not about how many steps you can count on a watch, but whether you can sit down on the ground with your spine tall, whether you can reach for a fallen spoon without groaning like thunder, and whether you can still walk through your garden and feel the breeze kiss your face without your knees arguing with every step. Because movement is not about motion alone, it is about remembering that you are alive in this very skin. The river never moves for applause, never checks its reflection in the sky. It simply flows because that is its nature. And you too were born not to become stiff and silent like a rock, but to flow through joy and sorrow, through youth and age, with the same rhythm that once made you dance barefoot in the rain without knowing what arthritis means. And if that rhythm is still there, hidden beneath wrinkles and wisdom, then you have not aged. You have become refined. When people say, oh, I'm too old for that, they are not speaking of the body alone. They are revealing a mind that has accepted gravity not as a force of nature, but as an excuse. But if you can rise from a chair without your hands seeking help? If you can climb a flight of stairs without looking up in despair, then you have not surrendered to time. You have learned how to walk with it, not against it. And there is something deeply beautiful about watching someone in their 70s move without rush, without hesitation. Just like an old river that knows every curve of the land, that does not crash like a waterfall anymore, but glides with dignity, with memory, with presence. Because movement is not just physical, it is emotional, mental, spiritual. And when all of them move together, you are not just walking, you are flowing through existence. You don't need yoga poses or gym medals to prove this, you just need to be able to reach up for the sky when you yawn in the morning, to twist your body and feel no complaint, to put on your socks without negotiating with your spine. And if you can do these small things, if you can do these small things, these ordinary humble gestures, then you are not surviving. You are dancing through life's most sacred act, being well even now. And like a river that never forgets how to find the ocean, your body, if loved well, will not forget how to carry you, how to respond to the winds of change, how to sit beside a child and get up without creaking like an old door, how to stretch your arms wide open, not just to greet someone, but to remind the sky that you are still here, still capable, still whole. And if that movement is still there, my friend, then your life is not winding down, it is widening out. So move like a river, not to go anywhere, not to escape anything, but just to feel the current of life still pulsing through your muscles and bones, to honor this borrowed vessel with the grace it deserves. And if you can still do that, not because someone told you to, but because it feels good, feels right, feels natural, then age has not defeated you. It has bowed to you like water does to the moon. Without a reason, not because the world has offered you something funny or because the moment demands celebration, but because deep within you there is a space untouched by fear, unburdened by memory, where laughter bubbles not as a reaction but as a natural fragrance. Now at 70, you can still sit alone on a bench, watching the birds chase the wind and chuckle softly to yourself without needing a joke. Then you have touched something that most people miss even while surrounded by comedy and company. This laughter, the one that comes from nowhere and returns to nowhere, is not about happiness as people define it, not about success or possessions or praise, but about the sheer absurdity and beauty of being alive, of knowing that one day you will return to the earth and still finding it worthwhile to smile at the color of a falling leaf or the crooked way your shadow bends on the wall. And when this joy flows without cause, without stimulus, it means you have become your own sunshine. People think laughter must be earned, triggered, justified. But a child laughs 200 times a day not because life is perfect, but because they are still fresh, still unarmored, still able to feel joy rise like steam from the fire within. And if you at 70 can laugh without waiting for someone to make sense, without needing life to obey your script, it means your soul has remained soft, unwounded by time. You see, laughter is not about forgetting the pain. It is about remembering that the pain is not everything, that even in the middle of heartbreak or illness or aging bones, there is still space inside where light dances, and if you can tap into that without pretending, without forcing it, just allow it to rise like a breeze through dry leaves, then you are not just aging, you are flowering. And people may look at you, this elder who smiles to themselves, who bursts into laughter in the middle of silence, and they may ask, "Oh, what's so funny?" And you need not answer, for they will not understand that the joke is not outside but within. That existence itself is a cosmic play, and you, having seen it all, joy, loss, achievement, regret, I can now sit back like a wise old actor and laugh at the sheer miracle of being allowed to play at all. If your laughter is not bitter, not sharp like sarcasm, but round and soft like a warm drum beat, if it does not mock but melts, if it rises from the belly and spreads to the eyes, then you have become not just an elder but an alchemist, one who has turned experience into gold, pain into rhythm, memory into music, and it is this laughter, quiet and inexplicable, that says to the world, I am not defeated, I am amused. So laugh without a reason, because reason will always find something wrong, always point to what's missing, always delay joy until conditions are perfect. But life is never perfect, and the ones who wait for perfection forget to live while you can laugh in the middle of nothing. In the middle of everything, remember that laughter is not a response to life, it is a way of being alive. And if at 70, this laugh still lives in you, not a mask, not a habit, but a spring that flows without demand, then you are not just surviving the years, you are dissolving time. You are rising above the drama, above the noise, and you have become like a breeze in the afternoon, gentle, unnoticed, but deeply refreshing to all who pass you. Speak less, mean more, not because silence is fashionable or words are sinful, but because there comes a time when you no longer feel the need to fill the air with your opinions, to decorate silence with noise, to prove that you are wise by speaking often. And if at 70 your words come fewer but fall deeper, not rushed or rehearsed but rising like echoes from still water, then you have not just grown old, you have grown inward. In the early years, words come fast, like arrows shot from uncertain hands. And the more we speak, the more we hope to be heard. But with time, if you are paying attention, you learn that most of life is not about saying more, but saying what matters, what resonates, what lasts beyond the moment. And if your tongue moves only when your heart is full, when your mind is clear, then every syllable becomes sacred. When a younger man speaks too much, we call him energetic. But when an elder speaks too much, we call him tiresome. And maybe that is unfair. But it is also a reminder that maturity is not in the volume of our speech, but in the weight of our presence. And if you can sit among others and listen fully without waiting to interrupt, if you can answer with just a glance or a pause and still leave them moved, then your silence has become more eloquent than most speeches. And you see, words are like seeds. Not all need to be planted, not all will bloom, but if chosen carefully, spoken consciously, they can build bridges or burn walls, they can soothe or awaken. And if at 70 your words no longer come from habit but from clarity, no longer to impress but to illuminate, then you have mastered one of life's finest arts, not speaking to be heard but speaking to be understood. You don't need to tell the whole story anymore because now you know that truth doesn't need decoration, it just needs space. And when you speak only when it adds value, not noise, only when it lives rather than drains, then every conversation becomes a kind of offering, and even silence in your company becomes rich, even pauses feel full, because the world now senses you do not speak to escape the moment. You speak only when the moment calls you. And sometimes you will sit in a room full of voices, all eager to be right, all tangled in arguments and cleverness, and you will remain quiet, not because you don't know what to, but because you finally understand that wisdom is not always about saying the right thing. It's often about knowing when to say nothing at all. And in that stillness, your presence speaks louder than any volume of words ever could. If you can say one line and it lives in someone's heart for a decade, if you can answer a question with a smile that feels like a revelation, oh, your yes is trusted and your no is final, not because of authority, but because of integrity, then you are no longer a speaker of words but a keeper of truth, and truth, when spoken without ego, needs no ornament, no explanation, only stillness behind. So speak less, mean more, not to be mysterious, not to be revered, but because when words flow from stillness and not from noise, from clarity and not from compulsion, then even a whisper becomes thunder, even a breath becomes a teaching. And if at 70 this is how your voice moves, how mature. Few but full, then you are not just aging, you are ripening like fruit in late summer, complete and nourishing without needing to say a single word more than what is truly needed. Remember names, forget grudges, not because memory is a game of pride or because forgiving is fashionable, but because the ability to hold someone's name with warmth and let go of what they once did with pain is not a sign of age but of grace. And if at 70 your mind still lights up with the names of old friends, distant neighbors, childhood teachers, but no longer carries the burden of what someone said in 1983, then your heart has become lighter than your years. To remember a name is to acknowledge a life, to say, I see you, I have not erased you. And this simple act becomes sacred with age when time has blurred faces and stretched distances. Yet you can still greet someone not as a stranger, but as a part of your story. And if that story no longer carries resentment, if their past mistakes don't tremble your voice or tighten your breath, then you have grown in a way that has nothing to do with birthdays. Grudges are heavy, they sit in the chest like old furniture that no longer fits the house. They take up space meant for joy, for laughter, for presence. And when we carry them year after year, hoping they teach someone else a lesson, they end up teaching only us bitterness. But if at 70 you can look at those who once hurt you and smile, not because you've forgotten the wound, but because you've remembered your peace more, it means you've chosen liberation over revenge. You see, forgiveness is not weakness, and forgetting doesn't mean denial. It means you have stepped out of the cycle of reaction, out of the loop of pain, and chosen instead to move forward like the sky does after the storm, clear and wide. And if you can meet someone who once broke your trust and still offer them water, still call them by their name, still speak with dignity, then you are not naive, you are free. And remembering names, remembering birthdays, remembering the way someone liked their tea or the way they laughed at their own jokes, these are not small things, they are acts of love, acts of presence. And when you carry these delicate threads in your memory while letting the sharp thorns of old arguments fall away, then you become not just older, but wiser, like a tree that drops dead leaves and still shelters birds. It is easy to remember what went wrong, to keep score like a tired referee of a long game no one is playing anymore. But it is far more powerful to remember the beauty, the effort, the moments of kindness that others may have long forgotten. And if at 70 your stories are lined more with smiles and scowls, more with compassion than complaints, then you have edited your memory with love. And maybe someone will come to you ashamed of what they did years ago, and you will look at them and say, I remember your name, not your mistake. And in that moment, you will not just heal them, you will heal something ancient in yourself. Because releasing others from their past releases you from yours. And this is how the heart grows younger, even as the hair turns grey. So remember names, forget grudges, not because one is easier than the other, but because one connects and the other divides, one nourishes and the other poisons. And if your mind can still recall who someone is while your heart no longer clings to what they did, then you are not just aging gracefully, you are living wisely. And in this kind of wisdom, there is only space for one more name, one more smile, one more moment to love. Sleep like a baby, wake like a sage, not because rest is a routine or waking is a duty, but because the way you surrender to the night and rise into the day reveals whether you are at war with life or in harmony with it. And if at 70 you can lay your head down, not with a mind racing through regrets and resentments, but with a heart that whispers enough for today, and drift into sleep without the need to escape, without the weight of unfinished anger or unsaid, then you're not just aging well, you are living life. To sleep like a baby means not that your body is without pain or your life without complexity, but that something in you remains untouched by it all. Some quiet space inside that still trusts the dark, still feels safe in stillness, still closes its eyes without fear of what it might miss or what tomorrow might demand. And when you lie there with no calculations, no guilt running marathons in your head, just a gentle letting go like a leaf falling into a river, that is not sleep, that is a kind of sacred surrender. And to wake like a sage is not about alarm clocks or early schedules, but about rising into the day with grace, not dragging the past into your morning like a heavy coat, not rehearsing complaints before your first breath, but opening your eyes with the soft wonder of a child and the quiet strength of one who has seen enough to know that life will do what it does, and your role is to meet it. Not resist it, not fear it, but meet it fully awake, fully. Sleep and waking are the two sacred doorways we cross every day, and most walk through them unconsciously, distracted, exhausted. But if at 70 you can treat your sleep as a blessing and your waking as a gift, if your last thought at night is peace and your first thought at dawn is gratitude, then your life has become not just a series of days but a string of small awakenings, each one a chance to begin again. You see, sleep is not the absence of thought, it is the return to essence. And babies do not sleep deeply because they are tired, but because they are free of fear of shame, free of masks, and if you can reclaim even a piece of that, if you can end your day without rehearsing your worth or measuring your success, then sleep will not be a struggle, but a soft descent into silence, where healing happens without your permission. And to wake like a sage is to rise not in a rush, but in awareness, not to chase the clock, but to feel the breath move through your body like morning light moves through trees, to sit for a moment before standing, to smile before speaking, to thank the sky before touching the phone. Because the way you wake shapes the way you live, and if your waking is gentle, conscious, rooted in presence, then the hours that follow will carry that fragrance too. Some people go to sleep with clenched fists and wake with a frown, but if you can lie down with empty hands and rise with open eyes, if you can forgive the day that has ended, bless the one that is beginning, then you have become not just a sleeper and a waker, but a bridge between the mystery and the moment, between the unknown and the known, and in that bridge lives peace. So sleep like a baby, not because you are ignorant of life's burdens, but because you are no longer owned by them. And wake like a sage, not because you know everything, but because you are willing to meet everything with calm. And if at 70 this is how you rest and rise, not with resistance, but with then you are no longer ruled by time, you are in tune with it. And that, my friend, is the quiet power of one who has not merely survived the years, but learned how to move through them without leaving pieces of themselves behind.